Welcome to the latest issue of Tuyen Mat. Dear friends, these artifacts from the Second World War, though long forgotten in the flow of time, but it continues to provide valuable insights into one of the most pivotal eras in human history. Do you want to explore the world during those tumultuous years? Let's find out together, right after this. Number 1. The Enigma Machine. One of the most famous symbols in the field of code breaking from the World War II era. This machine stands as proof that cryptanalysis profoundly impacted and altered the course of the war. The Enigma machine was invented by German engineer Arthur Scherbius, who developed it in the early 20th century. Initially, it was created for commercial purposes. However, the German military quickly recognized the potential of this technology for secure communication, and refined it into a sophisticated tool for gilding messages. When the German military used the Enigma cipher machine, they continuously increased the system's complexity by adding more rotors and utilizing a plug board. It helped turn the tide of the war, becoming a formidable weapon in the German military's arsenal. Allow them to exchange strategic information securely. The creation of this cipher played an extremely important role in their military operations. From the U-boat attacks in the Atlantic Ocean. After the war ended, many Enigma machines were discovered and are now preserved and displayed in museums around the world. The 2nd Ghost Division, founded by a collective of artists, actors, architects, and engineers. The Ghost Army, also known as the U.S. Army's 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, was a unit specializing in deceptive tactics against enemy forces. Their plan was to deceive the enemy by creating the illusion of a much larger Allied force than actually existed, through a combination of visual, auditory, and radio wave stimuli. They succeeded in diverting the attention and resources of the German forces. The use of inflatable tanks repeatedly provided the Allied forces with a tactical advantage. Decoy aircraft and even entire fake buildings were erected, looking identical to real, large-scale military installations. In terms of sound, they use a high-powered speaker system to broadcast sounds that simulate the noises of troops and machinery. Meanwhile, radio deception involved broadcasters transmitting false reports and orders. Although the activities of the Ghost Army were only made public in the 1990s. However, their impact on the war was immense. The Ghost Army is credited with saving thousands of lives by diverting German forces, especially in the final moments of the war. Today, their creative strategies are vividly brought to life through documentary films and artifacts on display in the museum. This passage is named after General Tomoyuki Yamashita, the commander of the Japanese forces in the Philippines. Legend has it that a large quantity of gold and many other spoils of war were believed to have been hidden in the tunnels and caves when the war ended. According to documents, this gold was originally looted from Southeast Asian countries during the period of Japanese military occupation. After being looted, they were taken to the Philippines with the intention of being shipped on to Japan. However, as the tide of the war began to turn against the Japanese forces, this treasure is believed to have been carefully hidden, awaiting the day it would be discovered. This train gained even more fame in the early 1970s when a Filipino locksmith, Rogelio Rosas, claims to have found part of the treasure. Subsequently, a legal battle ensued between Rosas and Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos. The defendant drew international attention after his findings were confiscated. The Ho Chi Minh Trail is hailed as the 8th wonder of the world. Built in the 18th century at the Catherine Palace in Tsarskoye Selo, near St. Petersburg, Russia. This room is a Baroque masterpiece, lavishly decorated with over 6 tons of amber, along with the gold leaf panels and the mirrors. In 1941, when Nazi Germany invaded the Soviet Union, the amber room was dismantled and moved to Königsberg for assembly. However, when the war ended and Allied forces closed in, the amber room vanished without a trace. The room's mysterious disappearance sparked countless theories and triggered numerous searches. Although the Soviet government and later the Russian government conducted extremely thorough and comprehensive investigations, but the trail of the amber room was broken. While awaiting a response, a replica of the amber room was created. After 2 decades of painstaking work, the creation of German and Russian craftsmen was officially inaugurated at the Catherine Palace in 2003. Number 5. Hitler's Bunker. Deep beneath the ground in central Berlin, this bunker is where Adolf Hitler spent the final moments of his life. built as part of the Emperor's Temple complex. This underground bunker was the very nerve center of the Nazi regime in the final months of the Second World War. When the Soviet Red Army closed in on Berlin in 1945, Hitler, along with several aides and his partner Eva Braun, took shelter in the underground bunker. It was here, on April 30, 1945, that Adolf Hitler and Eva Braun were said to have ended their lives. Today, the location of that tunnel is marked only by an information sign. In an unfortunate turn of events, the parking lot near the Holocaust Memorial became the site of a tragic incident. The German government has rejected proposals to excavate the area or hold a memorial ceremony at the site. More broadly, it is necessary to prevent that place from becoming a rallying point for a new wave of fascism. Number 6. The Bad Arolsen Archives. Nestled modestly in the small German town of Bad Arolsen, it is the world's largest repository of records on the victims and survivors of the Nazi regime. Also known as the International Tracing Service. This archive contains over 30 million documents chronicling the horrors of the Holocaust. Forced labor and migration during and after the Second World War. Initially, the archive was established by the Red Cross to trace people who went missing after the war. But later, the scope was expanded to preserve records from the re-education camps, concentration camps, controlled ghettos, and Gestapo secret police prisons. This vast data repository has played an absolutely vital role, providing invaluable support for research on the resolution of compensation claims. Help verify the truth, clarify the fate of the victims, and reunite families separated by war. However, due to concerns over personal data security, it was not until 2007 that the Bad Arolsen archive was fully and officially open to the public. From that point, it became an invaluable resource for historians. Researchers and victims' relatives have revealed a profound insight into the scale and systematic nature of the Nazi crimes. One of the most enduring myths about Town 2 is the story that in 1945, when Allied forces advanced into the town, a German train laden with gold, jewels, and priceless antiquities was dispatched from the city of Wrocław, Poland. The heavily armored train, under exceptionally tight security, is said to have vanished into the labyrinth of tunnels. Here is half of the letter O, part of the mysterious project known as WW2's, a massive Nazi construction project. Public attention focused intensely on the Golden Ship in 2015, when two treasure hunters claimed to have found it inside a secret tunnel, using ground-penetrating radar. However, subsequent investigations conducted by the Polish authorities found no evidence to support this claim. The train became an increasingly controversial topic regarding its very existence. Skeptics argue that the story of the gold-laden ship is merely a legend, woven from post-war rumors and popular folklore. However, supporters still argue that the circumstantial evidence is sufficiently convincing. Includes witness testimonies and documents from the Nazi era, suggesting that the train could indeed be real. The discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls during World War II made a significant contribution, substantially shaping our understanding of ancient history and religion. Discovered by Bedouin shepherds by chance in 1947 at a site near the Dead Sea. These scrolls contain the oldest known copies of the books of the Hebrew Bible, along with other Jewish texts and documents describing life during the Second Temple period. The chaos during the initial phase of the war greatly hindered the research and study of these precious artifacts. It wasn't until the 1950s that a group of dedicated scholars were finally able to conduct in-depth research on paper districts. This demonstrates their importance. These texts have provided invaluable insights into early Judaism and Christianity, influencing academic thought on the authenticity of the Bible. These paper districts were discovered in 11 excavation phases, with the most recent find occurring in 1956. In recent years, technological advancements have opened up opportunities to apply many new methods to the field of exploration and conservation, leading to new discoveries in this field. Today, most of the ancient Dead Sea Scrolls jars are housed in the Israel Antiquities Authority's collection, and some of the scrolls belong to the Israel Museum in Jerusalem, while others are still held in private collections. 9. The wreck of the heavy cruiser USS Indianapolis. The sinking of the USS Indianapolis in the final stages of World War II remains one of the most tragic naval disasters in U.S. history. After delivering the components of the Little Boy atomic bomb to Tinian Island, On July 30, 1915, a Japanese submarine torpedoed and sank the ship in the waters of the Philippines. Out of a total of nearly 1,200 sailors, only 316 survived. Many people have died from toxic exposure, dehydration, and shark attacks. For over 70 years, the wreck of the USS Indianapolis lay hidden in the deep ocean, a painful mystery, utterly forgotten, its fate as tragic as its own story. By May 2017, thanks to the remarkable advances in technology and the relentless efforts of an independent research group, it was under the guidance of Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen that the exact location of this ship was finally determined. The wreck of the USS Indianapolis has been found at a depth of more than 18,000 feet, over 5,400 meters, on the seabed. This discovery brings a sense of closure, helping to ease the pain for the fortunate survivors and the families of those who sacrificed their lives. Simultaneously, it also reminds us of the ship's fateful journey and the sacrifice of the people who were aboard. Detailed surveys and inspections of the shipwreck have helped illuminate the final moments of the vessel's fate. Allow us to respectfully acknowledge its place in the flow of history. Today, the shipwreck area is honored as a war cemetery. As one of the most famous shipwrecks from World War II, it continues to capture the attention of historians, translator, researcher, and a member of the public with a great love for the sea. The battleship Bismarck was a colossal vessel built by the Nazi German regime. This was one of the most crucial naval training institutions during the Second World War. With its modern design, powerful firepower, and thick protective armor, Bismarck was considered a serious threat to Allied shipping lanes. Its destruction became the top priority. The naval battle to intercept the battleship Bismarck began with the famous engagement in the Denmark Strait in May 1941. When the battleship Bismarck and the cruiser Prince Eugen engaged the Royal Navy's warship Hood and Prince Edelmert of Gill, England. In this battle, the Bismarck sank the battleship Hood. One of the most catastrophic losses for the British Navy was caused by this event. Following this victory, Bismarck attempted to evade pursuit by the British fleet and set a course for France to seek safety. However, a lucky torpedo from the aircraft of Squadron Ka, Phi Square Fish, struck its target. From the aircraft carrier HMS Ark Royal, an aircraft launched a torpedo that struck the battleship Bismarck's rudder, jamming it and leaving the ship completely unmaneuverable. The ship thus became an easy target for the approaching British fleet. On May 27, the British battleships King George V and Rodney, along with the cruiser Norfolk, and at that moment, the aircraft carrier HMS Ark Royal caught up with the Bismarck and launched a fierce, unrelenting attack. By mid-morning, the battleship Bismarck began to sink into the sea, and there were reports that the crew had scuttled the ship, scuttling the ship to prevent it from falling into enemy hands. The wreck of the Bismarck was discovered by oceanographer Robert Ballard in 1989. At a depth of nearly 15,700 feet below the ocean's surface. Better known by the name Miles Cheward, he is one of the most renowned tank gunners in the history of World War II. It was designed by Ferdinand Porsche on the orders of Adolf Hitler. The heaviest tank ever built, named Miles, is famous for its colossal weight of 188 tons. Miles is designed to breach enemy defensive lines while ensuring survivability against any attack thanks to its thick armor. This tank is equipped with extremely powerful firepower, featuring a 128mm main gun capable of destroying any Allied tank. However, its excessive weight also brings many practical inconveniences, including sluggish movement speed, excessively high fuel consumption, and the inability to cross the majority of bridges. One of the Miles tank prototypes was captured by the Soviet Red Army in the final stages of the war, after being partially destroyed by the German army to prevent it from falling into enemy hands. This prototype was subsequently restored using replacement parts from another prototype, and is currently on display at the Kubinka Tank Museum on the outskirts of Moscow, Russia. The Miles tank is the embodiment of extreme engineering thinking during wartime and a blind obsession with ambitions that exceed all limits. The story of the SS Gassipar and its valuable treasure is considered one of the most extraordinary discoveries. Regarding World War II, the British silver standard was officially established based on a very large quantity of silver bullion. It was sunk by a German U-boat in 1941. The wreck of the Gassapar had lain still at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean for over 70 years before its anchor was brought back to dry land. Initially, Gassapar was deployed for the British India Steam Navigation Company. However, it was subsequently put into service for the United Kingdom's Ministry of War Transport during the Second World War. In December 1940, the ship departed from the port of Chittagong, India, carrying a large quantity of lead and silver. The silver, totaling approximately 7 million ounces, included both privately owned bullion and government-owned bullion. This measure was intended to bolster the United Kingdom's financial resources for the war. In February 1941, while attempting to reach Galway Bay, Israel, the ship Gassapar ran out of fuel and was separated from its convoy due to severe storms at sea. The German submarine U-101 spotted the isolated ship Gassapar. They immediately launched a torpedo attack, causing the vessel to sink rapidly into the sea. Of the 85 people on board, only one survivor made it back to land after a 13-day struggle with death on a life raft. The recall campaign, which took place from 2012 to 2013, recovered over 99% of the silver recorded, totaling more than 110 silver ingots. The largest precious metal salvage operation from a shipwreck. The great depth and harsh conditions at the shipwreck site necessitated the use of remotely operated vehicles, ROV and other advanced technologies in the field of deep-sea exploration. 13. U-boat submarine wreck. In the recorded history of World War II, few chapters are as haunting as the story of Nazi Germany's U-boats. These formidable ships played an extremely important role in the Battle of the Atlantic. U-boats sank countless Allied ships and posed a grave threat to strategic supply lines. Despite achieving significant initial successes, the ultimate fate of the U-boat submarines was one shrouded in tragedy and gloom. As Allied forces continuously improved and advanced their anti-submarine tactics and technologies. By the final stage of the war, the majority of U-boats had either been sunk, scuttled, or abandoned. Leave the submarine wrecks as a declaration of the dark fate awaiting the entire force. The exploration of U-boat wrecks has reached a new level. When the wreck of the U-869 submarine was discovered in 1991, it was located in the waters off the coast of New Jersey. Initially, it was mistaken for the U-85 submarine, and its true identity was not confirmed until 1997. The fate of the submarine U-869 was a mystery because it was found far from its originally intended area of operations. After a thorough research process and perilous diving expeditions, it was finally discovered that the ship had been sunk by its own torpedo, a tragic outcome that highlighted the latent dangers and the sailors on the U-boats had to face. Another wreck, U-576, was found alongside the merchant ship